So, anyways, going back to why I'm in my garage, the last, I'd say, almost 24 hours, more than that, actually. Yeah, more than 24 hours. I've been kind of redoing some of my network and redoing this bridge to the garage. So my garage is it's old, right? This is a pretty old garage. It does look a little bit scary. My neighbors are going to think I'm crazy. They actually kind of know I'm crazy, but now this kind of confirms it. I don't have the garage door open. I could open the garage door, and then they would really know I'm crazy. Anyways, I was recording in here yesterday, and my neighbor saw me in here recording with this lights and everything, and I was up on a ladder. She was just kind of like, "Hey," no, she was super cool. I told her I'm YouTubing. She was like, "I figured." And so now whenever they see me outside doing weird stuff, I could just say I'm YouTubing, and they're like, "Okay." But going back to my garage, it's an old garage. I live in this city, so it's an old, small garage. I've thought about rebuilding a new one. I actually got a quote to do it, but I ended up not for a couple of reasons. But it's an old, small garage, and it's detached from my house. And so, what does that mean? Well, it means since it's not attached to my house, outside of power, I don't have any network going to here. And why does that matter? Well, because I have some security cameras in here that I want just in case someone breaks in, keep the peace, all the reasons you want security cameras. And so for a really, really long time, what I did was I created a wireless bridge. It's actually up here right now. It was actually one of my first YouTube videos ever. It's actually the first with Unify or Ubiquity stuff. But I created a wireless bridge from the house, right? So I have an access point that connects to this in mesh mode, and then creates a wireless bridge between. You're probably thinking, well, how does that help? Because I have cameras, right? And I have a PoE switch up there. And that helps because this switch is very special, right? This switch is super special because this is the AC Pro. This is a workhorse, right? It's one of the best access points that they have. The cool thing about it is it has a secondary port. And this was one of the only ones that Unify made with a secondary port that I'm aware of. And because of that, it's a trunk port that I could plug into a switch and then create a bridge and then put all of my cameras on here. So that's what I've been doing for years. I have a little PoE switch up there powering some cameras. This plugs in this trunk port into one of the default ports there. It even PoE powered this, and then it creates a bridge to my home. And that's worked great. I mean, I've had it up and running for 4 years, maybe 4 years. And before that, before the Ubiquity one, I had an old Linksys one in here. So I've been doing wireless bridge stuff in here for a long time. I'd probably say 8 or 9 years. Went from Linksys Cisco with DDWRT over to Ubiquity, and it's been great. It's been great. And such an engineer likes it is. It is. Such an engineer's like streaming this is. Yeah, yeah. So um so anyways, so I've had a wireless bridge for a long time and it's worked great. But I've added a couple more cameras and I've noticed that every now and then my wireless bridge it doesn't go down, it just slows. And if you think about it, I have three cameras, well, two cameras, but I'm going to put a third that are transferring, high quality data over a wireless bridge 24/7, 365 for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And that's a lot of data and it's worked great. But lately it's been degrading. And by degrading, I mean like the kind of the digital like static you get when you have digital TV that gets static. Well, I kind of see that and stuttering in my cameras. And upon further investigation, I realized, there's a ton of packets that are getting or dropped or retried. And so the retry ones, I was up to the like 39 or 40%. And so I started thinking about, okay, well, how can I fix this? And I did want to put a new access point in my house. So what I ended up doing was getting this little, well, Unify sent it to me, this UDB, this bridge. Hopefully I can take it out. They sent this to me for testing, which is a nice little device to create a bridge instead of using this. And this does exactly what this does, but this is a lot newer, and it has an omnidirectional antenna, right? And so the bad thing about this is I actually mounted it this way, right? And so my house is that way. And because my house is that way, this is not omnidirectional. It really focuses that way. And so this kind of explains the retries. It's kind of connecting to here. This is distributing all of the RF that way, outwards, and my house is that way. And sure, I could fix it by turning it around. I could probably have it dangling here, but I had it mounted on this wooden backboard for a long time. So the wheels started turning. I started thinking about, hey, what can I do? How can I fix this? Well, the UDB was one way. I am gonna crack open a drink. Man, I feel like I need a beer or something. I'm like in my garage. It's kind of cold. Got a jacket on. Um, So I started to think about like how can I fix this? The UDB was one. Actually, I had this because they sent it to me before they released it for testing, and it worked. It works great in my house, right? It works great in my house. Everything works great in my house. Um, and they sent it to me for testing, and if I wanted to review it, it's kind of how that works. And I thought, what better way to review it than to just like use it in real life? I could plug this in. Well, I'll tell you some cool things about this. And like, seriously, this is not a Ubiquity sponsored, video. I'm just kind of telling you what I've been going through the last couple of days. But this is pretty cool because it just connects to an access point. You can see the little lights there, omnidirectional. And then you could take this off and it will be directional. And then you have a port here, which is like a trunk port that you can connect anything to. And so the idea, at least, I think what a lot of people are going to use this for is for cameras, right? To make a camera, a really nice camera, wireless. But instead of that, I'm making my whole switch wireless. Um, and so you can kind of see my switch back here. I don't want to unplug too much. But so I basically made my switch wireless, quote unquote. And now I can plug anything I want into it and have VLAN support and everything because this is creating a bridge over to there. You could see the light on here. This is actually super handy because you could tell when you have a good signal, and it's at 3 bars, 2 bars. I know how to get it to 5 bars. That's a little bit later. So they sent this to me, and they actually sent me one more. Let me grab it. I'll show you the other thing I tried. Oh, it's nice having a wireless headset on. Ooh, I already broke one network cable once, and I don't want to break another. Maybe you'll see that in the video. So then they have a pro version of this, right? And so I was talking to Ubiquity and I was like, hey, I put this up, signal's a little bit better, but I don't want to go through like all of this hassle for a little bit better. And they actually sent me one of these too. This is the pro version. And so they were like, hey, go test that out. And I was like, okay, I'll test it out. So I came out here to the garage, I plugged it in, and I pointed it at my house, this way. And I started to get, a pretty decent signal. But when I looked at the signal, it was definitely a lot better, but it was still borderline between good and bad. It was in the orange. So I started thinking, maybe I'll drill it and put it outside. And I was going to do that, but I was like, you know what? Like, I don't really want to put a ton of holes in my garage and have this facing out. And my garage doesn't have a great like soffit or like a header board that I can attach to. And on top of that, my garage is stucco. So on the other side of here is stucco. It's like worst case scenario. So I didn't want to drill through the stucco, have this up and pointing directly at my house. So every time I look out the window, I see this thing. Don't get me wrong. I like tech. It looks nice, but I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. And my wife doesn't either, to be frank. I want to look outside. I want to see my bird feeders and I want to see my garage. And, that's about it. So I thought, well, this is out. I'm not going to use this either. Gives me a little bit better connection, but I don't want a little bit better connection. I want a great connection if I'm going to go through this. And so I kind of thought I was done. And I was like, oh man, that stinks. But then I started getting the idea, well, why have my access point in the house? How do I explain this? My access point in the house is upstairs, inside, in the center, roughly kind of the center of my house, a little bit offset. And I was thinking, well, that access point um, has to, this is connecting to that access point that's going through one cement wall with the door, through either a window or some more stucco, all the way to here, through this stucco and into here. And I'm like, there is no way around, making this connection better unless I move the access point to somewhere a little bit bigger, or I end up putting an access point outside. And so the last 24 hours, I've just been tearing everything up. Ran some Cat 6 out to what I decided was going to be a new access point. So Ubiquiti was like, try this. This should work. It's awesome. And so I mounted a U7 outdoor. I ran Cat 6. I crimped it down, got it up, I mounted it to my house, kind of on the electric pole. Maybe you'll see that. And then pointed it out here, and then went back to my normal setup. And if I put this in the right place, I have 5 bars, and I have 500 megabit. It's negotiated at 500 megabit, which is pretty good for wireless. I've done zero tuning, and I've done my channel width is pretty small, so I might increase it. So, anyways, that's kind of why I'm in my garage. I mean, that's kind of it. Yeah, Mr. DJ Keck. I know, dude. I know. I totally know. Like everyone's like, dig a trench, dig a trench, dig a trench, and I've considered it, but here's the challenge. I have a cement patio coming out the back of my house, and I have some buried cable here for the electric to come out of here. And I get it. I could have someone come out. I could, get a survey, figure out where that burial line is, and then go into my house, drill a hole in the basement, and then, tunnel underground and come up, after the patio. And the patio's, I don't know, 10 feet, and then come up in the small yard I have to then come inside of here. And I thought about it, but I was like, you know what? Like, if I can solve this with technology, then like wireless technology, I want to, because that's what I've been doing for. It's been, I mean, I've been doing a wireless bridge out to here for 10 years. Whether it's, like I said, whether it's my old Linksys Cisco router, 2 of them with DDWRT, or a Ubiquiti access point, the old AC Pro, because it has a trunk port on it. And so that's kind of where I was like, I've done it with wireless for so many years. Like wireless has gotten so much better. Like I still want to solve this with wireless. So, anyways, I know if I dug a trench, I could have easy 10 gig out here. Not that I even need it. I mean, these cameras, they're only doing what 10 or 15 megabits per second, kilobits per second. 10,000 kilobits per second, roughly, or 15,000 kilobits per second. So yeah, megabit. Well, you got to do the math, but roughly. So like the cameras aren't, they're not using a lot of bandwidth, but they're really sensitive too to latency. And so, with, as you guys know, AV stuff like this is super sensitive to latency or retries or anything like that, but doesn't use a ton of bandwidth. And so that's kind of what I did. Power line adapter. I thought about that too, but this is on my sub panel, and I've heard stuff about like, hey, if it's on your sub panel, might be weird. No, that's a good idea too. I never tested it. Like in my mind, like I said, for 10 years, I've just been like, wireless is the way. I've kind of changed my position on a lot of that, especially the last 4 or 5 years, because I feel like with Wi-Fi 5 gigahertz, 2.4, getting crazy crowded, it kind of forced me back to wiring a lot of stuff. But now that like wireless tech is getting a lot better, and we have 6 gigahertz coming, I kind of feel like, okay, maybe it's time to give it a chance again. This is I mean, I've been giving it a chance here for this bridge for 10 years, but inside too, I'm kind of thinking, okay, like hey dude, thank you so much. Dude, Palace Games, how's it going? Resub tier 1 20 months, dude, thank you so much, appreciate it. I have my one light out here. My one light, I would have brought 2, but I didn't. So that's kind of what I've been doing. So current state, I have Unify U7 Outdoor Pro out there mounted on the garage. Uh, Actually, before I mounted it on the house pointing here, I just stuck it out through the window. That if you saw my tweet or wherever I posted on Blue Sky too. I just kind of threw that access point in my window and opened up my window and pointed at this garage just to see, can it really, penetrate the stucco? And that U7 is directional. I didn't put the Omni directional antennas on it. I just pointed it right at the garage, and it for sure does. Like this, and so spoiler alert. Like I have now, not only do I have a good bridge, I also have good wireless coverage too. And so that's another thing I didn't mention. When Ubiquiti was like, hey, just replace your AC Pro with this. That's what it's made for. I started thinking, yeah, that's great for a bridge, but I have wireless coverage in my garage. And so, what I got with this, with the trunk port, was not only the bridge, but also coverage here in my garage for wireless, or coverage for my yard. And so I wasn't 100% sold on just switching to this, because then I'd still have to mount this in here. I wasn't totally against that, but I didn't want two devices in here. So, so it seems like I'm being picky, but when you have something that works and has a feature set, I don't want to, like, unless there's something wrong with it, I don't want to replace it with two products. I kind of want the same product. And so what I did was say, okay, well, I know that I need a bridge here, and I could probably hook that AC back up. That AC Pro I could probably hook back up and it'll be fine, but I don't like that it's pointing the other direction, so I might have some more retries. But what I ended up doing was just shifting and saying, okay, if I can get a wireless outdoor AP pointed at the garage that's strong enough to give me coverage throughout my whole yard and in my garage along with this, then that's a better switch for me, or a good switch, I should say. It's actually better because now I have good wireless coverage in my yard. In my tiny yard, I have a U7. I have a U7. It's crazy. Yeah, you can get 1 gigabit adapters, but they can really get the speed that remains to be seen. Yeah, that is right. I should try it. Like, I think power. It's awesome because we have power over Ethernet. You guys know that PoE, but we also have Ethernet over power, which is the power line. So it's any way you say it, you're right, even though they mean two different things. Um, but but yeah, I wish I could try. And yeah, this is on a sub panel. I've always heard that sub panel stuff could get weird. Um, and for me, that's like a last ditch effort. And I was kind of getting there, so I was almost up to anything. But I didn't want to introduce like another technology that I would introduce more variables into my network, because I was like, I know how wireless works, high level. I know how networking works, high level. And so if I need to troubleshoot any of that, it's I've been doing it for years. When it comes to power line, I'm sure it's just connect two things and plug it in, and it either works or it doesn't. But at the same time, I already had wireless, so I kind of wanted to solve it that way. Red Surge, Air Fiber. Oh, Mapney, how's it going? Palace Games. One thing about it, hard to miss a sub with those lights in your face. That's for sure. That's for sure. Mr. DJ Kick. Yeah, these lights are really in my face. I had to point it that way because these LEDs are so strong. If I even look at them for a second, I can see them everywhere. Like, I'm closing my eyes right now and I can see them. So I kind of have to like angle it away a little bit more because it's like blinding me. But I wanted to make sure they were still on stream. Okay, maybe that's not so much in my face, but you can kind of see it. I just installed Powerline to fix an issue with an IPTV box, and it works. I tried 20 years ago, and it was crap, but it's better now. Yeah, that's what I hear too. Is that it's gotten a lot better. And I think did the light go off? Oh, someone probably did dark mode. You don't have true dark mode in here. Actually, I could have wired up these garage lights to it too, because they are controlled by Home Assistant. But what you are controlling is all the lights in my studio or my office, because I didn't change anything. All I did was bring my LED light along with my RF adapter IR blaster to to change the light. I'm hoping someone did light mode because otherwise something is messed up. Well, it doesn't tell me there. Oh, you did. All right. It doesn't tell me in the events list. I think I'm going to start doing this a little bit more. I'll show you my setup. What I probably won't use the phone, or I'm going to figure out a way to do face tracking a little bit better because then I can move around and talk and show people stuff, and it actually works. Like in practice, like the thing works great. As soon as you mix in live streaming, it doesn't work so great. So, um, but oh, thank you. Well, actually, that kind of blinds me. Totally fine. Um, but yeah, going back to like technology and saying like, yeah, it was junk. You know, power line it was unreliable in the past, and now it's a lot better. I totally agree. I feel like, you know, maybe 10 years ago, like the ideas were there and the technology was there, but there was like it wasn't wasn't super practical yet, or wasn't really applied properly. I mean, who knows? But I feel like, you know, all of the tech from 10 years ago, like if you tried some tech 10 years ago and you're like, that's garbage, and you try it now and it still exists, it's actually really good. And that's kind of why I was thinking like wireless should build a good bridge. And another thing, like my wireless bridge before, the TX and RX, so basically what it was negotiated at was around 45 to 50 megabits per second, which again, that's like way more than I need. Maybe it's a little bit more, but there were so many retries and everything that I was not losing the bridge, but losing my connection to the cameras. And so with this right now, zero tuning, just plugging two things in and leaving this right here, I'm getting 400 megabits per second. So what I want to try to do is increase the channel width to use more channels to see if I can get, I don't know, gigabit. That would be pretty cool to get gigabit over the air, which, you know, it's possible, but you know, I think in a vacuum. The other cool thing is I tested out this access point because it's directional. I actually went that way that way. I went almost a block away with my phone, and I was able to connect. And that's through this garage. So I think I might need to turn it down just a little bit because I actually don't need my, you know, uh, my wireless network or my SSIDs like broadcasting a block away. Like it's kind of wild. So um, thank you, thank you. Let's see, dude, thank you. PC Geek, dude, I'm like missing these. All right, I need to get. There were so many chats that I need to get my phone out again. I just like for some reason I like don't want to be on my phone because I don't want to look like I'm on my phone. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm that way, but I kind of have to look at my phone to see the events. Um, I thought I was going to be doing more working inside of there, but let me see. Stream manager, my events. Dude, so many follows. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dude, PC Geek reset 49 months, dude. Oh yeah, four years, 1 month. Dude, thank you so much. And thank you for all you do. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Couple follows in there. Fistor Phoenix, Rainbow Scholar, Pixelmate Graphics, Pandy Tech. Dude, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Um, this is my Android phone, and what I wanted to do was actually use my Android phone and then plug it in and go crazy and plug in an HDMI adapter here so I can actually read the text that you might be seeing on screen, but in a different view. But anyways, basically like dual monitors on this, or at least extending it. So anyways, yeah, so that's kind of what I've been working on. So after that, I mean, I showed it off before in a couple of old videos, but it was kind of scary in here. Like my whole like technique of like mounting stuff to the wall, I kind of went to the extreme in here. So I had everything mounted on the wall, which looked great. To me, I thought it looked cool, but it looked kind of scary when you look at it. And so I thought, well, you know, if I'm gonna go through all this, like let's mount something nice up here or nicer. And so this was something I bought, I don't know, 4 months ago. And I thought it was going to be for this project specifically. I got it 4 months ago and I was like, Um, you know, I was kind of on the fence about getting it, but I'm glad I did because I got it for cheap at the time. Because when I started looking at, just metal cabinets or anything, garage style cabinets, I mean, they were expensive to begin with. And on top of that, they don't give me any holes or any access for the things I need to get in here. Like I can get power or cabling here or cabling there. And so even though this is a rack and I racked it last night, I could probably hang on it. It's so sturdy. I'm not going to be loading this up with tons of stuff. I'm going to be putting this kind of stuff in here. UPS, small switch, that's not going in here. But really, it's just a place to kind of throw the tech and then close it up, rather than it being on the wall and kind of being an eyesore. I don't know if this is an eyesore, but I don't think it is. And then like I have audio in here, so I'm going to put that all inside of here and just kind of clean it up. That's it, really. But yeah, I had a lot of not problems, but I didn't know how to solve this. And fortunately, people on X last night helped me out. Like, I gotta say X now. I know it's still Twitter, but like so many people correct me when I say it. I'm like, I know it's still Twitter. I mean, I know it's X, but I say it because I'm like in denial. So, anyways, I'll start saying X when I remember to. Um, it had some odd holes. There was no like assembly gear. I think this was an AliExpress thing. And like that's why I got it relatively cheap. But I think they have the same one on Amazon. You just pay a little bit more. And so you basically, yeah, Amazon sells a lot of the same stuff as AliExpress. You just get it a lot faster. Probably same company too. But it didn't have any hardware to mount it to the wall. So I was like, how the heck do I do this? And a lot of people gave me tips on how to do that. And I ended up using washers. So anyways, you can't really see in there, but it's up there pretty good. Let's see. It's 50. Let me see. GarageLab. Oh, someone said air fiber earlier. So kind of. So it's funny you mentioned that because the nano beam. I think nano beam is one of Ubiquity's thing, and I think that might be in their air fiber line. But the thing is with those are in their UISP, yeah, line, which uses totally different software. It doesn't even use Unify software. It like uses, I don't want to say unnecessarily complex, but a totally different UI, different way to manage it. I think they're all locally managed. I don't know if you get some central management. You probably do. Tons of settings, and those are really for either ISPs or professional installers. But from there, I think you can get the nano fiber and you can get the nano beams. So I'm combining them. You can get the air fiber and nano beams and like beam them at each other and get network over miles. Well, this one, not a nano beam. This is part of their new one, the UDB Pro, which is the Unified Device Bridge. The thing that's special about these two is now you can build a point-to-point bridge, or even a mesh bridge, which I just did, in Unify using these devices. And so these don't have a lot of configuration to them. You set them up in parent-child or just a child to something else. You point it where you want it, and they connect. And the cool thing is now you can start to do that, ISP-like stuff from their ISP line in their Unify line. So that's pretty cool. So that's yeah. And funny you mentioned that too, because I was I was out at Cerro Gordo with Chris from Crosstalk Solutions. I was there. I don't know. Time is hard. I think like 3 weeks ago. It seems so much longer. Maybe two, three. Uh, and we did some long distance networking, and we used nano beams there, which I was totally like, I know nothing about this. I don't know anything about UISP gear. I didn't even know like you could manage it in Unify. So learned a ton of stuff and how to long range network. And we did some of this too, where we had like a mesh access point up. We would point not one of those, but we would point a nano beam at it. Boom, it would connect. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Uh, just don't look at the fiber with your remaining eye. GarageLab, I dig this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I did this like 20 years ago. Oh yeah, it's like 50. I'm looking to see if I missed anything. Um, Twitcher, I like it. Never give in to saying X. All right, it's Twitter for me. All right, Matthew, that's right. I'm going to say Twitter, and then people are going to correct me. I'm going to be like, dude, I know. All right. I'm back to Twitter now. It's just like I feel like a lot of people have, you know, at least publicly have stopped saying Twitter. On the internet, people still say Twitter. So I'm like torn. Like, I'm kind of like, do I stick to my roots and keep saying Twitter? And I think the answer is yes. Um, let's see, random room totally totally looks more like a grow room. So much more than the server room. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a scary room. I mean, curtains over the windows, uh, cobwebs, wood. Yeah, this looks like a scary room. It does. And if you saw that side, my garage door, it's a little bit scarier. My wife's kind of she's a little bit embarrassed about a garage door, but I'm kind of like, well, let's not replace it yet. And I've been saying that for about 4 years. It looks like it needs to be replaced. Anyways, it's all wood. It probably weighs 2,000 pounds. I'm not kidding. And it's about time to get an aluminum one. And yeah, there were holes in it, but I filled those with spray foam. My wife hates it when I do stuff like this. It's still, I got this from my brother. Like my older brother, he fixes everything with spray foam. I mean, don't get me wrong. He can build houses. He has his own construction company. But his favorite thing ever is to like plug holes with expanding foam. Like he has some work trucks that are rusted out, that have rusty holes on the floor. Sure enough, he's spraying that spray foam in there. So I kind of got that from him. And everywhere there were, light showing through or wooden, holes in the wood, I put some spray foam in there. But anyways, yeah, that's enough of talking about how crazy this garage is. Did you make a video about Chris for that setup? I did. I did. I didn't release it yet, so it's coming soon. I have one or two videos before it, and that's kind of planned. So yes, I do have the footage. Haven't edited it yet, and a lot of it has to do with Chris from Crosstalk. I want him to release his first. You know, he mentioned it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm not trying to steal your thunder. Like, this is your thing. Like, I'm along for the ride. So I told him, like, hey, I won't even edit that until you get yours out. You know, and here's all my B-roll, which I still need to get to him. But he has great B-roll. I'm gonna be borrowing his. And told Chris, like, hey, yep, I'll just whenever you release yours, I'll go after that. So that's why I've been sitting on this. I had to take lots of notes. I usually don't sit on videos at all because then I forget about the experience. So I took lots of notes. And so mine will come shortly after that. I'm not going to spoil when his is coming. I know a time frame and when it's coming. I should just say soon. And his is going to be really in depth. His is going to be really in depth into the designing and the implementation. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun going out there. I'd never heard of Cerro Gordo, and I didn't know this whole like YouTube thing about Cerro Gordo until I saw Chris's video talking about designing a network for Cerro Gordo. And I had to Google it right away. I was like, "What is this?" I'm a I don't watch a ton of YouTube. Like I have, my select people that I watch. Usually, the usual suspects, at least for me. And then, a few other channels I watch for tips on editing, that kind of stuff. But not a ton of like just pure entertainment channels. And so I didn't know that Brent Underwood was a person who bought this Cerro Gordo area to kind of develop, I think, into a tourist attraction. So, anyways, I didn't know that was a thing. And so when I saw his video, I was like, this is awesome. Like, dude, how can I be a part of this? And it had nothing to do with like with the place. It was more about learning the technology that he was using, because he was doing long distance networking, doing a lot of meshing, doing long fiber runs, doing super long Cat 6 runs, a lot of PoE stuff. And I thought, you know what, that'd be fun to learn that someday. And I was like thinking, I'll never have this opportunity to learn this again. So I went out on a whim and I was like, Chris, hey, your video was awesome. Looks like you're gonna use some really cool tech when you do this. I'd love to help. If you need help, I'm not gonna charge anything. I'll just show up and I'd love to help and love to learn about this. And he basically told me, hey, if you can get to Reno, yeah, let's do this. I can pick you up. So that's kind of how that went. So, I talked to him, never met him in person before, but we're like in a Discord with a few other YouTubers. And so, yeah, I bought tickets, bought hotel rooms for Reno on 2 different nights, bookends on the trip. So flew to Reno. He picked me up. We went to Cerro Gordo, stayed there for 4 days, came back to Reno, and I flew out of there. And it was along with his one of his employees, David. And man, they are both such nice guys, like such nice persons, people. But yeah, anyways, like a lot of my friends were like, "Weren't you scared to like go out there?" I'm like, "Nah, like I've seen this guy on YouTube. He seems cool." But yeah, anyways, it was so fun. And then like I kind of like was like, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? For about 2 weeks. And my wife was just like, do it. Like you'll never have this chance to do it again. I was like, you're right. And fortunately, I'm in a position right now where I could do it and take a week off of work, both YouTube and other work, my consulting job, and it was pretty awesome. So, anyways, yeah. So that's kind of how that went. Man, I can talk forever about this stuff. Let's see. I personally keep using the same name. Oh yeah, dead name of one of the child. Wait, what? Oh, I see. I see a rack as small as I want to put into full rack and ASRock. Yeah, switch a stash of ASRock desk minis. Sometimes the experience is priceless. Daddy, I agree. I agree. And there was two experiences that I was getting. Actually, I got three, out of it. One was like a professional experience of like, hey, now I know how to do some long range networking if I ever need to. That's how I started. That kind of inspired this whole thing, right? Because we were building bridges there, and I was like, dude, I got a bridge at home. Like, I want to make mine better. So that kind of inspired this. So I learned a ton about, even cutting and crimping shielded Cat 6. Never did that before. And sure, I could watch some YouTube videos about it, but having like two people who have done it 1,000 times sit there and watch me do it was pretty awesome, and giving me tips too. It's like the tips you learn from someone teaching you are usually like years of experience of them doing it themselves. This is why trades are so important, and people should be in trades, is because there are so many jobs that need to be passed down to other people, and it's not just about doing the job; it's about learning all of these tricks. And so it was great for me to go there and learn how to do something from someone who's done it 1,000 times. And so that was cool. There was that. Then there was just to get out to Southern California, out in the desert, like, up in the mountains. Like, that was definitely a cool experience. We were 10,000 feet up. And so, like, I mean, was it hard to breathe? Not really. But if I was running up a hill, was I winded? Yeah, I was. So that was interesting, like just that whole landscape and just how dry and dusty everything was. Oh, thank you, someone, dude, thank you so much, dude. Salvarius, how's it going, dude? Thanks for the sub, 42 months, dude. Thank you so much, Salvarius. How's it going? Good to see you. Almost 4 years. But yeah, so that was cool. It was so dry and dusty there, like it was like moon dust everywhere, except for packed down in some parts. And then just get to like hang out with Chris and meet one of his employees and hang out and kind of build a bond there. It's pretty awesome. Chris is a really nice guy. Yeah, picked me up in his truck, didn't think twice, and we went out and did all that. It was pretty fun. So anyways, that's probably a lot about that. There's going to be more coming on that, like officially. How's it going? I only buy pre-made cables. Yeah, DAC or 5 or 10 gig and beyond. Yeah, so Mob Farmer. Me too, for the most part. When I ran my house here, when I bought my house, I bought Cat 5e 10 years ago. The difference between Cat 6 and Cat 5e was pretty big. And I was doing a ton of runs in my house, and I thought, I'll never need Cat 6. Here I am thinking, I wish I would have done Cat 6. Fortunately, though, my Cat 5e does pretty good on getting 10 gigs. So I kind of lucked out. And some of the runs are more than 100 feet because they have to go from the basement all the way up to the attic, which is 2 floors up, and then all the way down back to the 2nd floor. So anyways, I got pretty lucky on that. But I just bought some Cat 6 because I knew I was going to do this run. And then I'm probably going to redo some of these runs in here because this one's pretty messed up because someone stole one of my cameras and they just yanked the camera out. This is not a Unify one, but they yanked the camera out, and they could have just like unplugged it. No, they didn't. They just yanked it out, and so that just pulled out this Cat 6. And so when I got a new camera, I needed it like almost same day, and I just repaired that because it was like the person who stole my camera. Let's see if they steal this one. Didn't happen again. So, anyways, so yeah, I just bought some Cat 6 because I'm going to fix some stuff in here. And then like so a big thing that's changed from the last time that I did a run here. I actually have my crimpers here. I thought I had my crimpers. Let me see if they're over here really quick, because if they are, I'll show you. No, they must be inside. But I bought a new pair of crimpers because I was, one, I couldn't find my old ones, but two, because when I was hanging out with Chris and co, I realized that crimpers have gotten a lot better. There's these things called, oh, here's some right here I was just using, pass-through plugs. And so it's pretty cool. I mean, these may have existed 10 years ago. I don't know, but I didn't buy them, nor had a crimper that would actually do it. Or maybe the crimper would have worked. Anyways, not important. These pass-through plugs actually let you feed the wire all the way through and come out the other end so that when you crimp it, it cuts it. And so that makes wiring so much easier now, because I've made so many cables before that didn't have that feature. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Boo Steelers, yeah, I totally agree. Need Cat 6, yeah. But yeah, we hopefully you guys can still hear me, because I think that my headset's going to be dying soon. So like what's left in here is I got to tidy all this up. I don't think I'm going to run new cables just because like I got to save that for another day. But I am going to run the existing cables all in through the top. And I considered bringing them in from the bottom. That way no dust would just fall in from, the storage that's above here in the attic, the garage's attic. But I think I am going to cut from, I am going to open up the top and come that way. And I don't even have a shelf yet for this thing, so I'm just going to put everything in here, make it look kind of nice, put these side panels back on, and then, I did bring out a mini PC, because what I want to do is, once I have this bridge up and I do the tuning, and I hopefully can get connected at gigabit, I actually then want to test the connection. So it's one thing to negotiate at 1 gigabit, over Wi-Fi. It's another thing to actually push data through it. So if my packet drops or retries are super low, which they should be, then hopefully I can, I don't know, maybe get gigabit over the air, which is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome, and who knows, maybe beyond. So but this isn't Wi-Fi 7, and it doesn't matter, it's Wi-Fi 6, but it's not Wi-Fi 7, which again doesn't even give you much. It gives you a lot, but it really reduces latency more bandwidth. So awesome. Let's see, Kev, how's it going? Nice and clear. Oh, thank you. You should try using a powered USB hub for that setup, Tim. Then you can charge your phone and USB simultaneously. I do. Well, I see what you mean. So I have a Anchor power brick down there that has lots of USBs, and they're plugged into my DJI gimbal right now. And then that is going into my microphone transmitter, and then that microphone transmitter is plugged into my phone. And the reason why I was using the wireless headset is because I didn't think I could charge the phone with the transmitter in
I don't even know if I am. I hope it's working. So what I think is I don't know. I'm not going to look at it now. I'm so tempted to look. But I think my phone is charging. It might be pulling it from the battery from the transmitter. Meanwhile, I'm charging the transmitter. I hope it's just passing through, but you never know. So if I would have known this, I would have done this from the beginning. But I didn't realize that my transmitter had a USB-C on it because it has a contact to charge within here, and you're probably going to hear it in stereo when I open this up. But it has a contact to charge inside of there, and that these go in there too. These microphones. So, but I didn't know that the transmitter also had USB-C on there to power it, which is I think pass-through power. Because these have USB-C on them, but it's for data. It's to get the data off, and so I never thought to look to see if that one had it. So, what do you do for work, if you don't mind asking? Yeah, oh, you meant a hub for the phone directly? Yeah. So I have an iPhone. Boo, I know, and I have an iPhone 13 Pro Plus, and I still have a Lightning cable in mine. So it sucks. Like it really does. And even today, when I was preparing for the stream, I was thinking, man, if I just had USB-C or I had a newer iPhone, this would be so easy. It's so easy to plug in this, which I brought outside. It's so easy to plug in this, typical USB-C stuff, to where I can get some more ports on it and plug it into a phone. And that's why I even brought my Android phone out, and I set up my Android phone to connect to Streamlabs and connect to the Twitch stream, but it didn't. What was the problem? Oh, it was the same problem where I could charge it, but I wasn't sure about how I then was going to get audio. So long story short, I need to get the newer version of the DJI mic so I could get Bluetooth, and then a lot of this is moot at that point, or go with the Rode ones. I haven't figured it out. I like the DJI ones, but the Rode ones are nice, but then the Rode ones are they're pretty big. They're like a pager size. So, but yeah. What do you do for work, if you don't mind asking? White XXXX. It's complicated right now, but for all intents and purposes, I'm a software developer. I'm a software engineer. I've done that for a while. I've worked at large companies, built software for them. I did infrastructure for some companies too, but then got into software development. Did that for 2 really large companies, and then kind of went off in the startup world and did it for 2 startups. So yeah, I helped start a startup that I worked at for about 4 or 5 years, and that got acquired by a larger startup, and now I work for them kind of part-time. So I'm doing consulting part-time for them. So and then like a couple of my other days, me and my wife call them Techno Tim days. So it's stuff like this. And a lot of what I did all day yesterday was because I have, a couple extra days a week now, because I'm not working full time, where I can do stuff like this. So it's hard for me to commit to say yeah, I'm a full-time YouTuber, which I'm not. And it's hard for me to even think I want to, because I feel like a lot of my identity, and maybe this is weird, but I've done software development for a long time, and I don't want to lose that title, and I don't want to lose that skill, more so than the title. I care less about titles. We always had a saying, it's bring your skills, not your title. This guy Dakota, who was a product manager, used to always say that. He actually made T-shirts that said it, and it was kind of a finger in the eye to some of the corporate people, but which was awesome. It pretty much describes him. But I'm a firm believer in, bring your skills, not your title. So it's not like I didn't want to lose the title of software engineer. I didn't want to lose the skills. And if you've ever done software development or a lot of things in tech, if you take a break for 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, and you try to come back to it, a lot's changed in that time. So that's where I was okay, I still want to have my finger on the pulse. I still want to write code. I still want to do DevOps. I still want to, work on Kubernetes. I want to do all this stuff to keep my skills sharp. So I have my finger on the pulse. And it's not only do I want to know it exists, I want to apply it, weekly, daily, if I can. And so I do apply some stuff daily at home with my own code and stuff like that. But I actually, commit code to a company's code base every week. And so, I want to continue to do that because I want to keep my skills sharp so that, hey, if things change, it's like not only do I know they change, but I'm basically getting trained for free as they change. If you think about it that way. So, wherever you work, if you're in technology, if they stay relatively up to date with technology, you're basically getting free training, on-the-job training for the new technology. And if you ever don't work, you'll realize that that's really valuable to have, because otherwise you have to spend time learning that skill while you could be working. So yeah, it's tough. So, but yeah, so I can't commit. I can't commit to either thing. I could easily go back as a full-time software engineer, for the right company. I enjoy doing it a lot. I really like writing code, and it's not just I like just being a programmer all the time. I do like to solve problems. I do like to work with product managers to figure out what the problems are and how to solve them. So rather than someone tell me how to solve a problem, I like it when people come to me with the problem looking for a solution. So, and I think that's, as you get older and you do more development in general, you kind of get more into the solution side, which is nice. But don't get me wrong, if someone files a bug report and I get to put my headphones on and just fix the bug, I totally will. I really enjoy those days too. So, I don't know. And another thing is, I don't know if this is a trait that a lot of or all software engineers have or developers, but I really like bugs. Like, I like it when there's a bug. Not a huge bug that's wreaking havoc, kind of like I wrote, a couple weeks ago. But for me, it's fun getting bugs and fixing bugs because one, it means someone noticed it, and two, I really like debugging, and that's really how I learned to program. I reverse engineered programming by first debugging code rather than writing code, and I think that helped me a lot in a couple of ways, but it really helped me understand how code works. And so if I realized that if I can debug this code and put breakpoints and inspect the code, then I can start to understand like how it was written. So I kind of go from that route. So, anyways, do I miss working full time? I kind of do, Daddy. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit. So I do sometimes. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I do. Especially on days when I like release a video and it doesn't do well, and I'm kind of like, man. This is a pretty good part of my income, is YouTube now. My consulting is more, but that's something that I had to decide when I left full time, was like, okay, I'm gonna take a pretty big pay cut. If you're whatever. Let's just say, you've been doing software engineering, you have 10 to 15 years experience, and then some experience in other things, people, take care of you. So I was getting paid pretty good. And then to just say, okay, well, I'm going to go down to like 1 or 2 days a week, that's kind of scary. So anyways, I do miss that security, of like, sweet, I'm going to get paid. And don't get me wrong, like I work my butt off at work. I always have. I put in more hours than I need to. I care about every place that I work at. I'm not just coasting. And so, I never had to worry about getting paid. Depends on the how your startup's doing. But anyways, now it's like if I don't create videos, I don't get paid. And so there's this weird thing where I feel like, I always have to work. And I've always been like that, but it's really amplified now to where my creator brain doesn't turn off. And with that comes like, I always feel like I need to be doing something. And the tough part is when you do content about tech you like and do for a living, some of it, it feels like you're either always working or always playing. I don't know which one. But the other thing is like, I like the other day, one of my databases was down. So I was looking at it. So I self-host databases in Kubernetes to run some of my services, like my website and stuff like that, short links. Like they're all self-hosted by me, by open source products and code I've written. And database is down. And this is like the 5th time it's happened in 2 months. And I was so over it that I'm moving my databases out of Kubernetes, and I'm switching over to LXC, and I'm doing all this. And I spent 2 days doing that and migrating all of my databases out of Kubernetes so that my databases don't go down. And that's like, it's weird because I could make content about it. I think people would generally like it, may or may not. But at the same time, it's like my brain couldn't like let go of doing that until I did it, which is a different habit. I guess what I'm trying to say is when your hobbies and your job, my hobbies being YouTube, maybe my job, but when they are so close that it's hard to differentiate them, it gets me in a lot of trouble. Because in my head I'm saying, yeah, I'm moving all these databases because people depend on them for my documentation and my short links, and if those don't work, people can't get to the right places. People can't get to my sponsored page, so I might be some kind of financial impact there. But realistically, probably no financial impact there because people will just be like, oh, I can't get this documentation, not a big deal. But then, anyways, there's so many things like that where it kind of gets me in trouble. It gets me into trouble. And then I thought, well, if I do this for 2 days, I can make content about it. And, maybe that will make up for the 2 days I spent doing this. And so, long story short, I never stop working. As you can kind of see here, I mean, this is kind of working now too, so kind of, sort of. Anyways, so man, you guys are really getting the inside scoop. The inside scoop, like the NBA inside stuff. I keep hitting my head. So I have these lanterns here that we used for a 4th of July party, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And I couldn't throw them in the trash or anything. And so I hung them up in the garage here, and they've been here ever since. I love them. But I hit my head on them all the time. And they don't hurt, but it's just annoying. Let's see. Security engineer at my work, I did the same thing. A security engineer at my work did the same thing. He started his own company, did consulting. Sounds like a nice gig. Yeah, it is. It is. It definitely is. But you turn into... So I've been doing it for a company I already worked at, so relatively easy. I didn't have to go out and find them or sell myself or, worry about writing up this contract and all this stuff, although I did. But, I knew the people, so, it was easy to, we already had an established relationship. It'd be hard for me, I guess, at some point, that contract's not going to last forever, so I will have to, go out and recruit or sell myself to get jobs. So that's kind of tough because at my current job, I kind of still have the keys to the kingdom because I wrote most of the code that's running there. And so when things go wrong, I need to be able to fix them. But other places, that won't happen, which is fine. But it'll just be different. Yes, me to fix a bug are issues with high priority 1 issues. Yeah, fixing bugs. We had a bug in our ticket system. By clicking save, it would kick you out of the ticket. Nice. Yeah, that's, works as designed. No one could create new tickets. Sounds like someone wrote that feature who knew what they were doing. Mr. DJ Keck, yeah, I'm in a company that still uses DOS-based app, and we're moving to something more current. But man, mentally, oh my God, it drives me nuts. This company hasn't changed hardware in 20 years, and it's killing me. I want to deploy all the new stuff with security and modern features, but the management mentality is, if this has worked for the past 20 years, why should we change? Yeah, slap them all. Yeah. More content is better. We would all be happy with anything more Techno Tim content. Thank you. I am, and I'm still trying to figure this out. I have a couple of channels, and I'm still trying to figure this out. And so I'm one of my goals for 2025 is to get things out faster. And for me, that's not going to mean work harder. work longer. It's going to mean work smarter. And that sounds pretty cliche, but what that will mean for me is do a lot more content, maybe less formal, and still get it out. And so I'm not going to lower the bar on quality. I feel like I'm going to try something where I just get things out faster. Because I'm not a great writer, not a great editor, not great at a lot of stuff. I don't know. I'm pretty good at a lot of things. I'm not great at anything. So like writing and speaking are totally things that I'm not great at. Like even doing this, it's easy for me to have small talk. But when it comes to writing, because I'm not great at it, it's the easiest thing for me to procrastinate. And perfect example, part of the reason why I fixed those and migrated those databases the other day, it's really kind of my way of procrastinating because I didn't want to write the script yet for the video that I recorded yesterday. So that's where I'm like, for me, the easiest thing to procrastinate is starting the next thing. And I need to get better at that. So anyways, I hope to have a lot of stuff a lot quicker to people. So man, I can't believe how long it's going. DeLorean car phone, I like it. DeLorean car phone, man. So great to catch a live stream, dude. It doesn't have to be formal. Thank you, Tim. We watch, follow you because we like what you do. So more of you is happy to watch. Thank you. Are you still using Proxmox? Heck yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm using Proxmox a ton. I'm even using it more than I was before. Well, first, I appreciate those comments. This is just like a stream of consciousness. It always kind of is with me on live streams. You guys get like kind of you learn kind of what goes on in my brain. And I think just me being in my garage with a drink and like not having a microphone in front of my face, I feel like a little bit more comfortable than I would if I was in there. Because, it is kind of weird talking to myself really loud in the garage, but it's also pretty awesome. I am going to open the garage door really quick just to get some air in here. Like, I'm seriously in my garage. Oh yeah, garage door is open. So now if anyone drives by, they're going to be like, what the heck is that dude doing? But someone was using a leaf blower like earlier, and like my garage is filled with like, I feel like exhaust. They were doing it over there for like 45 minutes before the stream. I was like, seriously? Like you guys have not done this ever, and like now you're going to do it on the day I'm going to stream? So I'm glad they stopped, but it still feels like kind of smoked out in here. Are you still using Proxmox? Yeah, so going back to that, yes, I am still using Proxmox. Actually, I'm going to shut it maybe about halfway because this is super weird if someone comes by. Okay, halfway open. I'm still using Proxmox. I have 4 Proxmox servers at home. This is 4, not 3. And I have 3 in my co-location. I use it a ton. I use it a lot to run Kubernetes, and I use it to run my Docker instance that has all of my Docker apps on there. Soon going to move it to TrueNAS Scale. And then I also have virtual machines and do all kinds of stuff. But what I really started getting into more so is LXC containers. I know that LXC containers, I'm like saying container twice, but I have to say it instead of LXCs. But I like them. So I'm a huge fan of like containerization, like open containers, basically Docker type stuff, using containerd. Using the open container runtime, I think. I don't know. Anyways, like I'm a huge fan of Docker containers because it's super, they're easy to spin up, and 2, all of the dependencies that you need are included inside of that container, and they're run, and they're virtualized, and it doesn't rely on those from the host. And so the nice thing about those containers is you could build that container, you could build one yourself, build an app, pack all those dependencies in there, and then ship it, and anyone can run it anywhere. And to me, that's nice because, I used Linux for a long time, and, there's the, do an apt get dist upgrade that breaks things, right? I've run like, MySQL, you name it, for many years on Linux for WordPress or whatever, and, an update breaks an application. Well, Docker fixes that because your dependencies are inside the container. Long story short, that's why I've always, once I switched to containers, I'm like, there's no other way for me. However, the challenge is, though, that, then you need to either stack your containers, scale vertically on that machine and run lots of containers there, or if you want to scale horizontally, you have to install Docker on all of those machines. And on top of that, you have to use a machine. So you have to use a virtual machine, right? And so what I did with my database cluster was saying, well, instead of spinning up 3 virtual machines on my 3 Proxmox servers, and then in those 3 virtual machines installing Docker, and then in the Docker runtime installing 3 databases, to get high availability, what I want to do is not take on that whole stack and resources, and just run an LXC. And so Proxmox has native support for LXCs. And so I thought, you know what? This is a trade-off I'm willing to make. I'm not going to create 3 virtual machines and hog up all these resources just because I want to run Postgres on 3 different machines. So I thought, I'm going to use an LXC container. And so that's what I did, and it is pretty awesome. Now everything that I said was awesome about containers, and the reason why I switched to containers for almost everything still applies. And so those LXCs, if I go and update Postgres, it might break something. Or, if I go and update any dependency that I have on there, it could break something. You might hear planes because I live close to an airport. But anyways, so I ended up creating 3 LXCs, so my Postgres servers, and I was playing with it yesterday. I set up a high availability Postgres cluster. If you don't know what Postgres is, it's basically like open source SQL server database, SQL. Basically like what my SQL should have been, but Postgres basically is now like hugely popular because of their open licensing and how easy it is to use and how efficient it is and clustering and all of that. So I set up those 3 databases, and I just cut over my short link stuff. So if you go to l.technotim.live/whatever, all my short links, you may or may not see docs or whatever like that. That's where all of my redirects are stored within those databases. I cut it over. It's been working fantastic ever since. And on top of that, when I created these LXCs, I was like, yeah, I'll give them 2 cores each. I'm going to give them 10 or 20 gigs of disk space. I'm going to give them 2 gigs of RAM. That's not a lot of RAM, so here you go, 2 gigs. I let them run. I didn't even need to give it that much. So I went back and looked at my RAM usage for Postgres, and I gave it 2 gigs thinking that was little. I actually cut it down to 512 megabytes because it wasn't even using 512. It was using a little under 250, and that was a lot compared to my other databases. So that's when I was like, okay, there's definitely something here. Like, I wish that Proxmox would let me easily run Docker, natively on Proxmox, and arguably I could install it, manage it that way. But I kind of treat Proxmox like an appliance, not like an operating system. So appliances, I'm kind of hands off. Unless I absolutely need to do something like, GPU pass-through or something, some of those supported things. But I'm not going to go and install Docker on all my Proxmox servers and deal with that headache. And so, so for when there are cases where there are really tiny little services that I need to run HA, that's what I'm going to do. And so that's what I did. I'm talking for a long time, and there's probably a lot going on. So that's what I did. And I did it multiple times. And it's pretty cool how I have it set up now. So I have Postgres running on all 3, and I put that behind HA proxy. So I have 3 instances of HA proxy. And then on HA proxy, on each one of those instances, I have keep alive D. And so what that does is give me, and then I run Patroni, but that really just manages the cluster. So what I get is 3 servers in a cluster, highly available, and on top of that, HA proxy is running so it can check to see which node is the current leader, because I can only write to the leader. So it's checking, saying, hey, who's the leader now? Oh, 1's the leader. Okay, 1's the leader. So I set that up. And then on top of that, I installed Keep Alive D, which creates a VIP. So all of these Keep Alive D instances are checking to see if they're alive, and if they're not alive, they're shifting who is alive and who's the leader to the VIP. So now I have one IP address which will always get to the right Postgres server regardless of which one is down. So I totally over-engineered this, but I'm like, if I'm going to go HA, I'm going to make it a real HA. And so the real HA is to have, have it be fault tolerant to a lot of stuff. So it's fault tolerant to losing the whole entire server. Proxmox goes down, fine. It's fault tolerant to losing one Postgres LXC. LXC stops for whatever reason, or whatever, I accidentally stop it, still works. HA proxy then is highly available. Those HA proxy instances are all checking to see which one is the leader, and they're backed by that VIP. So that VIP, the virtual IP address, creates a virtual load balancer, is actually checking all of those HA proxies to see which one is the leader. So, so I have HA all the way down. And now it's pretty awesome. I can pull the plug on one of my servers, everything's fine. And yeah, so it's pretty cool. I thought about doing a tutorial on it sometime, but haven't yet. Yeah, failover for sure. Failover does work, and I tested it earlier today because I'm like, okay, let's take Postgres down. Does it still work? Yes. And now could be a second or two between those checks to where it might be getting routed to the old thing, and I can tune that to make it really, really short, but it'll make the services a lot busier. And so so yeah, I can tune the whole thing so it's milliseconds of downtime to where it's almost not possible, but I don't want to go that far. Anyways, that's the kind of stuff we do at work. I didn't want to go that far. So I can take Postgres down, I shut it down today, still works. Shut down HA proxy, still works. Shut down Keep Live D, still works. Oh, and then Proconi is the service that manages it. There's 3 of them, and if I take that down, it doesn't work. But that's kind of behind the scenes. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So then I did the same with MongoDB. MongoDB is a little bit different because the way that it works, it has replica sets, it has replicas, and it's pretty interesting what they did. So instead of how do I explain this? Instead of putting a load balancer in front of your database engine and checking to see which one's the leader, what you do is you create a replica set, and then you tell every client to here's all the servers in the replica. So basically, the client's kind of managing it, saying like, here's all of these URLs. Like, I'm gonna, that's my connection string, and I'll figure out which one's the leader. So, anyways, kind of weird. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm going. What are your thoughts on Proxmox in an enterprise setting? That's tough. I don't know, because I don't use an enterprise setting. I mean, I use a lot of it, but I don't use, what don't I use? So I don't use so mine are clustered, but their volumes aren't, none of my virtual machines or LXCs are highly available. So I'm not using HA LXCs or HA virtual machines. Whoa, hey! You're probably totally getting, you're probably hearing all these planes flying over. It's like, right now is definitely prime time. I can't see. Dude, Cybet, subscribe with Prime. Dude, thank you so much. 31 months, thank you so much. So I don't use the high availability features in Proxmox. I don't have HA LXCs, and I don't have HA virtual machines, which I thought about doing, because then I'd only have to create one, and it would fail over some time, but I didn't want that downtime in between. Long story short, so I don't use those features. What I decided is, I'm going to put them in a cluster for ease of management and to do offline migration, not live migrations. And I'll build HA into the services. So, that's exactly what I was talking about. I kind of pushed, I pushed availability further down in the stack. Instead of letting my hypervisor manage HA, right, by keeping my VMs or my LXCs highly available, I pushed that complexity down, and it was a lot of complexity to push down into the service and say, I don't care if my Proxmox server's down, and and on top of that, it's not going to be the one that's going to move this service around. I'm going to build it into the service so that it just doesn't even matter. It's a little more portable, I think a better way. It's agnostic of the hypervisor, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so that's an approach I took. For Proxmox Enterprise, I don't know. It depends on your business. It depends. Works for my business, but my business is, is very, very small, and I wouldn't call it an enterprise. It's shoddy at best. Are you still in the Proxmox? Just joined you to run down everything. I kind of did. There's not a lot in here, so I kind of did a rundown, what it is, why I'm here, and what's going on. But yeah, basically a better a cabinet for things that were there before, and then on top of that, I redid a lot of my networking. What are your thoughts on using Proxmox? And there we talked about that. Maybe I should host a hackathon. Yeah, I like that. Mr. DJ Keck, LXC is awesome. I've also started to embrace the mount. Super lightweight. I totally agree. And again, RIP T-Tech. Yeah. So yeah, super sad. So, if you use the Proxmox helper scripts, they're super awesome. I have a video on it, but what they do is help you create LXCs really fast. So it's basically a wizard that will walk you through creating LXCs based on your favorite services. So if you want to create an LXC for Home Assistant, you can run the script. It'll prompt you for a few things and create the service in an LXC. And we're talking 30 seconds. Like no nothing. If you accept the defaults and choose Debian, you're up in 30 seconds. And so that was created by a developer named T-Tech, and he created all these Proxmox helper scripts. And so huge help to the community, which was pretty awesome. But I saw in a GitHub issue that he was transferring the responsibility of this, the Proxmox helper scripts to the community. Actually, at first it was like, hey, I'm going to archive this because he has health issues. And the health issues, I guess, well, I'm not sure what, but what I read was like he was in hospice care and he wasn't doing too well. So pretty sad. And so the community came together really quick and moved it to a new place in GitHub and a new place online to ensure that these scripts go on. So yeah, super sad. I hope he's okay. I mean, when people say hospice, you generally know that they're not, but hopefully, Anyway, so I feel super bad. So I don't know if he's passed. I know you said RIP. I don't know if he's passed. I hope not, unless he's in a better place now. So anyways, yeah, super sad. Like, it's kind of, this is starting to happen to either, people you kind of know or people in tech or, like T-Tech, never knew him, but uses scripts a ton. It's just weird. It is sad too. But yeah, I definitely hope he's okay. You ever gonna do a NixOS deep dives? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know anything about NixOS. I know that it's basically an OS based on a package manager, I think. See, this is how little I know about it. And I kind of get the gist, and they're trying to make, dependencies, basically making Linux reproducible. All the problems I talked about earlier about apt, I think Nix is here to solve this. So I haven't done anything on it. for me, again, it was like, I'm just going to shift to containers. The OS can do whatever it wants, have at it. But if my containers are predictable, that's all I care about. And so maybe since I'm also the one hosting the containers, I should care more about the OS. And don't get me wrong, I care about the OS, care about which one I use. I want to be able to troubleshoot it. I do want to be able to reproduce it. But with Debian or Ubuntu, that's hard. And when I say reproduce it, I mean exactly as it is today, right? And basically pinning all of my dependencies or freezing them in time so that if in 2 years I need to troubleshoot something, it's kind of frozen in time and I still have the same dependencies, same environment. And I mean, that's what Docker does. So I haven't done it yet. Yes, me too. For database containers are not a good solution because they have a lot of weight on I/O. Yeah, if you have databases over 100 gigs, perhaps it's a problem. I have databases 400 terabytes, and containers are not the solution. Ooh, yeah. So that's another good point too. So I will say though that so I don't think that how am I trying to say this? Databases in a container, like there isn't an inherent problem with a database being in a container, although it could be with the file system stuff. But when it comes to I/O, yes, it can be a problem. That was a lot of the problem that I was running into, is that I was stacking all of these on the same spindles, SSD, but spindles for all intents and purposes. And so I was using, a database in a shared environment. That's what it boils down to. And so if you're using databases that are accessed super frequently and need some I/O and are sensitive to I/O, then you shouldn't run them in a shared environment. And so if you run Kubernetes, that's kind of how Kubernetes is. It's one big shared environment for you, right? And now there are things you can do in Kubernetes to say, hey, I just created these nodes or these virtual machines. These 3 virtual machines are dedicated to these workloads only. And if I had more machines, I would have said, yes, let's add a couple more nodes. These nodes only run my Kubernetes containers, and that would have been good. But Kubernetes is kind of going, it's basically like Tetris. And you're getting containers and you're putting them all everywhere and you're trying to fit them in all of these resource constraints. But one big one is foundational, and that's your disks. And so if you have a lot of things doing a lot of I/O and you don't have enough I/O for your databases, yeah, you're going to have performance issues. But then on top of that, you could actually have bigger problems like I was having with etcd. And so etcd is even super sensitive. I mean, we're talking like 100 millisecond sensitive to read or writes or network. And you go beyond the 100, 200 millisecond I/O for etcd, it's database key value pair, but that's where Kubernetes data is stored. Things go wrong really quick. So again, like I had 3 servers, I'm piling everything on it. And so that got me. At the end of the day, it wasn't the technology I used to solve it. It was more just I ran out of disk I/O. And again, like if I had more resources, I would put NVMEs in it or do a lot of cool things. But I thought, you know what, enough of this. So anyways, yeah, good point. Postgres in a container, 500 gig. Oh my God, 500 terabyte. Oh my gosh. Use a hosting company for years now. No issues with, ProxMoxV. That is cool. He is not fine. Sorry, terminal canceled. Yeah, I saw that too. I saw that, and I guess what I was going for was like I didn't know if he passed or not. If he did, I'm super sorry. Hopefully he's fine and in a better place now. And if he didn't, hopefully he's fine and around the people he loves and is living out his last couple of days. So that's where I was going. Like I hope he's fine. Like health-wise, I know he's not fine. So yeah, that's what I meant by fine. It was probably just the wrong choice of words. But yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I saw it like 3 or 4 days ago or something. So yeah, it's super sad. Nix is a bit more than that, and you have your background in declarative deployments and GitOps. Yeah, enjoy. Great. Recommend you look at it for sure. Yeah, it does. It does sound awesome. I do want something declarative for OSs. especially when you get into like, managing infrastructure, like wholesale, like, at scale, for sure. I'm always been like, at least with the developer, I'm like, the OS is abstracted from me. So I've been at the application level. And so I would put my applications in containers. And then I'm just like, run them anywhere because I know all the code I wrote. I know the dependencies. I know they're all installed. I built the container myself in CI. And I stored it. And it is locked. And, nothing's going to change it. And if something does change it, the next time it cycles itself, I'm going to get the latest version or the same version. So yeah, it's interesting for me. And yeah, maybe I'll take a look. A lot of my, I don't use Terraform on Proxmox. Maybe I should. But I need some more automation for at least the OS side because yeah, it's kind of manual for me to create new LXCs or VMs. All right, guys, let me shut the garage all the way. Oh, that's opening it. All right, I would. Oh, wait for that to stop. Okay, I would totally hang out for. Whoa, that was not good. I would totally hang out for a lot longer, but I need to get some stuff done. I actually need to eat dinner here soon, and dogs need to be let out. All kinds of stuff. So, anyways, thank you for bearing with me from this. With the stream, a lot of things went wrong in the beginning, but I know what to do next time, and I know what not to do next time. So. Thank you all for joining. Next stream will be next Saturday. It will probably be back in my studio because I probably won't be doing stuff like this. But this does prove that I can do this from anywhere now with my phone if I do the right things. And I know what to do now, so it's pretty cool. I do wish that I had a little more control on a few things. And I thought about setting up my laptop and then setting up the camera and then basically reproducing my streaming setup in here with the laptop. I thought, that's too much. That's too much. So. Mobile should be able to do it fine, and I figured it out. So anyways, thank you so much for joining in today, for chatting, there was subs, resubs, new subs. There were a lot of follows. I apologize if I didn't see them. Next time I'm going to have a little bit easier way to read chat so I don't have to do that. But I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Super fun to be able to talk about things super real time too, because a lot of my other streams, I take questions and I try to answer questions, but still look at chat. But it's super nice to be able to just like look at something and talk about it right away. So anyways, I will be back next Saturday in my studio, same time. And I should have something out for you this week. A lot about this, I think. I just need to not make it an hour long and kind of summarize what I need to do. So this goes back into writing and procrastinating on writing. I have about a quarter of it written, but I needed to do the thing before I can write the rest. So anyways, if you haven't already, you should totally join our Twitch community. We have a Twitch community. It's about 10,000 people with a lot of people interested in tech. You should totally join. If you do ! Discord, you'll find it. Or just Google Techno Tim Discord and you'll find it there too. Because we're a partner Discord and so I got the name. So anyways, join if you can. Oh, I thought I was seeing red lights. I have been looking at this too long. Join if you can, and I will be next Saturday. Thank you so much. Am I missing anything? No way. No, back to the real grow room. Yeah, the real grow room. Grow room number 1, the OG grow room. I might stream from there sometime too. That's actually my server room. So not a real grow room, but a lot of people are like, and even kind of I was when I moved in. I'm like, this is totally a grow room. Anyways, I'll be back next Saturday. If you need me, ping me. Have a happy Saturday and be good to each other. Take care, folks.